Culture requires effort. Effort means more time, more energy, more face-to-face interactions. And as rapid growth is happening, a lot of times we let things drop and we start to have certain parts of our culture take hits.
Welcome back to the Culture Based Podcast. I'm Dustin. He's Blake. Episode 69, mid-November. Thanksgiving is coming upon us. We got turkeys and parades and all sorts of family drama to avoid. But first, we're going to get to maintaining company culture during rapid growth seasons, which we expect that you're in right now because you are a faithful listener and watcher of the Culture Based Podcast. So we don't even need to remind you, but we're going to anyway, that we help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and develop scalable teams to get them there. As you're listening to this, we would love a 5-star rating or review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button, like, subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified every time new content drops. You can find us on social media at The Culture Base, BASE, on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, all those places like that. You can go to theculturebase.com/strategy to get a free call with us, and we can help you know what you're about, show where you're going, and develop scalable teams to get you there. And also, while you're there on the website, go ahead and head on over to theculturebase.com/resources to get your free ebook, The Scalability Playbook, written by us at The Culture Base. It's proven methods for building high-performance teams, and the copy of the playbook is yours for free. All you got to do is head on over to theculturebase.com/resources. I think that's everything. Did I get everything?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, let's go with it. That sounds like everything. All right, so today's episode, like I said, we're going to break down maintaining company culture during rapid growth. And there are a lot of problems associated with this maintaining company culture during rapid growth because it's all of a sudden new and it's exciting and things are happening. So let's get into the problem, Blake.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. And one thing I would say before I hit the problem, we were talking about this ahead of time, and I was going to leave this for later, but I do think it's now the more I think about it. Rapid growth means stuff's moving quick. But something that's also true in business is if something's moving quick, it's usually one aspect of business, which means not every aspect of business is moving at that same speed or that same effort. And so sometimes there has to be this quick understanding that because sales is moving really quick, that ops is going to be expected to move at that same similar rate, but they're not there yet. Okay, which means sometimes in rapid growth, there's reactiveness, right? We're having to react to things instead of be proactive to things. Now, as you forecast ahead of time, and I'm talking very just smart business models here, as you're forecasting what's coming ahead, hopefully you get your culture, your team, your understanding, your processes in such a place that you're forecasting that rapid growth, which means you're also on the backside prepping your ops team, your finance ability, right? How much can you actually pay out? What's your cash look like now to even sustain rapid growth? So all these things are moving, right? A lot of things are having to be decided, which means we're going to get a lot of decision fatigue happening. A lot of things are having to move. People are needing to grow. And all of this is happening. And I'm trying to build the stress level here. I don't know if you can tell, but it is stressful. Rapid growth will make you every night as your head hits the pillow, just be like, it's for a season. If rapid growth is always happening, I would encourage a little bit of slowdown sometimes, to be honest with you, just to let your team regroup. But you may hate what I'm about to say. So I'm going to say it with a smile because I've learned that that's a good thing to do. So you're working really hard. And what I'm about to tell you is you got to work harder. Okay? You got to work harder. Culture requires effort. Effort means more time, more energy, more face-to-face interactions. And as rapid growth is happening, a lot of times we let things drop. And this as you saw that awesome video part for the problem, that is this. We start to have certain parts of our culture take hits. We start seeing our core values diluted. The things that were really important in those values start meaning different things because we're just trying to get people to move. Hey, you got to put in more work. What's going on? Isn't this a we not me culture? Don't do that. That is not healthy. Okay.
Yeah.
So spending more time on your values is going to be important, but it's a problem. We start seeing our core values get diluted. We start seeing employee turnover because guess what? As much as you weren't expecting this kind of a spike potentially in rapid growth, they for sure as heck weren't expecting it. And you basically just said, everything that you've been comfortable in, throw that out the window. Well, now they're having to respond to this too. You are not the only leader responding to rapid growth. Everyone's having to respond to rapid growth. So you're going to see increased employee turnover. You're going to see communication breakdowns happen. And those are good. Communication breakdowns are not a bad thing. They're more a warning sign. Okay. It's a warning flag.
There you go.
Communication breakdowns are the warning flags of every other problem about to hit because you're rapid growing. Okay. So my biggest encouragement as we're talking, and I'm just talking about the problem right now, but those are warning signs. Don't see them as a breakdown just in your culture. That is a warning sign that your culture is experiencing a high intensity amount of tension at that moment. Okay. You're going to see these communication breakdowns happen. You're going to see people just being resistant to change. Okay. You're going to see people pushing back there. It is okay to go through a season of fire, but if every season is a season of fire, everything's burning down at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't let every season be this. So people will be more resistant to change because of this. Not, hey, we weathered that fire. We learned how to deal with these things. We grew in the process. We found out who were the people that needed to be a part of this, who are really good at adaptability and change. But when that's all that it is, people won't stick around long term. So that's the problem. Do you have anything more on the problem?
No, I think that summed it up great. I think we should let's get into the solution.
Yeah.
All right. So a few of these we talked about on past episodes, as recently as last episode 68, when we talked about onboarding. But the best way to kind of be proactive about this, like Blake was saying, is to reinforce core values through your onboarding. This ensures that all new hires are thoroughly educated about the company's core values and culture during the onboarding process. And as we've said many times before, when it comes to your culture values, use storytelling. The storytelling of example, it doesn't have to be fake narrative. Use some real life examples in your company of when you've seen this value come to life. Because the more you can give real life examples of that, the more they will catch the vision of what that value actually looks like on a practical day-to-day level. So as part of the solution, reinforce core values through onboarding. Now go one further episode back to episode 67. And when we talked about remote or hybrid work environments, part of that we talked about was having regular check-ins, and your culture is no different. You need to implement regular culture check-ins whenever you can. Schedule periodic assessments to evaluate the health of company culture. Blake, what's the one that we've been toying around or playing around with at one of your companies? The assess, like to help keep a pulse on the culture. Caleb Campbell introduced it to us on a podcast episode. Office Vibe. Great resource, great tool to use to keep these pulses and keep these regular check-ins for your culture. Not sponsored by them, but check them out. Office Vibe, VIBE. Great resource to help do that. Next solution, you want to encourage open communication. Again, we sound like a broken record every single week, but the more transparent communication you can have for your team to voice concerns, share feedback, discuss any changes, it builds trust. Trust builds good culture, thus emphasizing your values in busy seasons like the one you're experiencing right now. Last couple bits of solution: celebrate achievements and milestones. You celebrate what you want repeated, right? If you see something that you want repeated, Celebrate it often, loudly, publicly. Hit the milestones. People that have been there for a certain amount of time that have stuck it out. Longevity is a lost art in our society. And so when you have that happen in your company, you need to celebrate it to the maximum potential possible, because people need to see what kind of recognition longevity in your company gets them. And don't let a busy season take away from that. Don't be like, oh man, we forgot Bill's 10th anniversary because we were busy of this rapid growth. No. You got to have somebody or something set up to automate in your organization to ping you a month out to say, Bill's 10-year anniversary is coming up. Make a big deal out of it. Okay, great. Yep. Thank you, person or thing that I automated to remind me of that. And let's go do it. Because if you forget that, you can forget rapid growth. You're about to have a rapid decline, because Bill's going to hit the road because he's not going to feel valued anymore, which will kill your culture. Last pro tip on the solution for this problem is to leverage leadership as culture champions. Culture champions. If you can have your leaders at every level model and promote company culture actively, that's a win. So here's a pro tip, practical example of that. If your department heads host some kind of a weekly or monthly or regular check-in huddle, have them start that huddle by sharing one culture value. Say, hey, remember at company X, we believe we is greater than me, and here's what that looks like. Boom, let's get into the meeting. That's all you got to do. It's a reminding, it's repetition, it's getting it out there, being champions of that. Why does that matter so much to us? Those are all parts of the solution. Anything else you want to add to the solution, Blake?
Yeah, as you have rapid growth, if you don't deal with these things, and you might be like, oh, it's just all the woo-woo stuff they're talking about right now. No, let me tell you what that turns into. Rapid growth tends to mean vulnerable quality. Vulnerable quality tends to mean lack of rapid growth. So if you want to keep growing, your quality has to be in line with your growth rate. In order to have a good quality, you've got to have a culture of people who believe in the mission, the vision, and the growth and the direction. If you don't get those things, you don't get nothing. So I guess now to the action steps.
Cool.
Toy. So let's hit leadership action steps. We first thing I would say is really piggybacking on what Dustin just said a minute ago. You have to revisit and clarify core values. Core values do not change in the sense of they change from this idea to a completely counter idea, but they do evolve. Okay, so there is an evolution of your values, a maturity to your values. Your values probably started early on at an immature level and have learned how to grow consistently throughout your organization, which means that clarifying your core values is not always just saying your core values. It's aligning what that core value means. Here's what I mean. Here's what that means. Here today, as we're experiencing the rapid growth, here's what that value is going to help us do. Leaders, the more you can revisit and clarify those core values for your team and that core focus, the more your team is going to be on board. Okay, they're going to know how what they do is going to impact what is going on. Okay, so the second thing would be you need those culture ambassadors. How are you going to help develop people on your team who maybe aren't quite at the leadership level, but are looking for a transition? Hey, how do I step up during this time of rapid growth? And I know you're like, oh, nobody ever asked that. They do. In every organization, you have people who are hungry. Okay, and this is a great time to go, Nancy, I keep going back to Nancy. It seems like Nancy, you're asking me what you can do. I'm going to tell you, it would be so helpful if you pushed the values right now. If you were just that champion who was really pushing whatever your favorite value is, just go really help the team see it and how, if we operate authentically as who we are, we're going to be able to grow substantially. And that would help out so much. Build those ambassadors, build those people on your team. And then the last thing I would say is you're wanting to go 1,000,000 miles an hour and be efficient and not have to slow down. In order to really go through a curve well, you have to break into it and excel out, right? So you need to break in with these ideas of all hands meetings. talk about the season you're in. I cannot tell you that there is an assumption. Well, everyone knows we're in a busy season. Yeah, but nobody's heard you say that. Nobody's heard you talk about the stress and importance of this season. Nobody's heard you say how long you think this season will be. They don't see a light at the end of the tunnel like you do. They just see where they're at in that moment. How do you come in and say, hey, we're in a busy season? It's likely only going to last for 2.5 months, because here we see a breakdown happening on our sales, and that's okay. We need that slowdown afterwards. Let's put our heads together. How can we as a team, how can we handle this well? What are your guys' thoughts? Give out ideas. Now they're bringing their stuff into the idea and the solution. And now it doesn't feel like something that they're just getting thrown into, but they're an active participant in how to overcome this issue.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that we're going to lean heavily on the action steps here for leaders, because it's if you're going to lead through growth well, it's going to come from the top down. So if you're not a leader in your organization and you're listening to this is definitely an episode for you to be like, yeah, but I would also remind you to lead by example no matter where you're at, right? You can lead up just as effectively as your leaders can lead down. So be the example in these things. Show them this is the stuff that's too important. Show them by your actions. Don't be whiny, right? But show them by your actions that these are the things that are too important for us to compromise on if we're going to maintain company culture. It's like when disaster hits, it's like, you watch on a comedy TV show and disaster hits and you're like, let's not do anything that tomorrow we're not going to be proud of. Yeah. Right. Same thing. Same attitude for a team member during this rapid growth season is let's not do anything on the other side of this that we're going to regret. Let's keep true to who we are, rooted in. You at the ground or mid-level, right? Get to carry this. Like you are the hands and feet of the culture that is out moving amongst the floor, not necessarily the leaders, right? So you have an opportunity here, if you're a team member, to take an action step to say, this is what matters, and I'm going to exemplify it at every step of the way. So that is our episode on taking company culture, maintaining company culture during a season of rapid growth. You got the rapid growth. Great job. That's amazing. We're all super proud of you, but don't lose your head in it. Don't do anything on the other side of it that you're going to be ashamed of later. Keep true to yourself. Keep true to the culture values that you have set before you. Next episode, what is this? We're in 69 now. So I guess it would technically be episode 70. We're going to start a 4-episode series called Culture Shift, AI's role in evolving work environments. AI is here, it's real, and it's powerful, and we can use it to our advantage with our team culture. So we're going to spend the next 4 episodes getting into what AI's role looks like within our team cultures. We'll talk to you next time about all of that on the Culture Base podcast.